Hey guys, so I wanted to film a video like this for quite some time, talking about how I got in a chair and what my accident is. So my accident happened on June 9th, 2009, so just over 6 years ago now, when I was 16. It was a motor vehicle accident and I was ejected from the sunroof into the ditch, which was very swampy and wet. So I was turned over so I wasn't going to drown, and was then taken to Red Deer Hospital, about 20 minutes away, and then taken to Calgary Foothills Hospital, about 2 hours from there. And at that point, I stayed in ICU for over a month and was then taken to acute care unit for several months, and then finally the rehab unit. So it was a total of 6 months in the hospital, and I came home on Christmas Eve of that 2009. And my injury is a C6, C7 complete. So I broke right around the bottom of my neck is where those vertebrae would be. So there is a scar there, and a scar on my stomach where they did an exploratory to look for internal bleeding, which there wasn't. I went through 2 surgeries at the beginning on my neck to fuse the vertebrae together, and then there is added some sort of hardware connecting everything as well, because the C6 vertebrae was completely smushed and non-existent and had to be rebuilt, also using bone from my hip. So when I came home with my parents, it was Christmas Eve, and they had just finished renovations on a new house. The house we had before would not be good to modify at all, so we found a bungalow-style walkout house, and we have an elevator. I'll show you right here. And that goes to the main floor and to the basement, which my room is down here, and have a full accessible bathroom that was redone and the bathtub taken out and a roll-in shower put in so I can use the commode chair. And I can exit out the walkout basement or go upstairs out through the garage down another porch lift. So having a C6, C7 injury, it classifies me as quadriplegic, which means hands are affected. So very small finger movements, no straightening of the fingers, and yeah, they're just kind of quite tight and not good for grasping or holding much. So that brings its own challenges besides the fact of legs not being able to work. Having limited hand function adds that much more that you need help with in day-to-day things. So they did teach me a bit in the rehab unit on relearning how to do things, and they showed me different types of handcuffs that would wrap around this part of your hand, kind of for writing or using a brush for your hair or a toothbrush. And I did that at the beginning, and then after a few years I kind of figured out other things. So like writing, for example, I put the pen through these 2 fingers, and as I write I kind of stabilize the top with this hand and can write like that. And the toothbrush, I just decided to use one of the electric ones with the batteries, and they have a really wide base at the bottom, so it's a bit easier to grasp onto for me, not just like the skinny regular toothbrush. And I have normally assistance with my hair. Can't tell today, but I have help with that and using like the hot tools and stuff. I don't have a way of that I figured out yet to use those, but hopefully at some point I do. So right now I'm using a manual chair. It's my second one now. The first one I had for over 5 years, and this one I've only had for about 6 months. The main reason for getting a new one was because the other one was measured for me when I was in the hospital at like maybe 90 pounds, so it was very narrow. And being 16 and 90 pounds going up to 22 and 120 pounds, there's a big difference in your body, and that chair was just way too tight. So this chair was ordered from Shoppers Home Health, and it is the Tylight version with Spinergy wheels. So I will insert a photo of the chair so you guys can have a better look at it. I also have a power chair. I don't have a vehicle that transports a power chair, and my parents don't either. So when I use it, it's just around the neighborhood type of a situation. So I like to use it when I go out on the paved trails and walk my dogs and to the dog park, which is close to my house. And it's really handy for that because it's not paved, so no one has to push me through gravel and all that nonsense. So it's come in handy quite a few times, which I really like. Once I was home, I went back to finish grade 12, and I went back in February, about less than 2 months after leaving the hospital, and I finished grade 12 that June and graduated with all the people I've gone to school with since kindergarten in this same town, which was really nice. And then I definitely had taken some time for myself afterwards, and I had really no idea what I wanted to do as in taking anything in college or what I was even interested in doing at that point. So I had taken some time, and then I also did a little bit of like a volunteer position at my doctor's clinic doing some reception type things like filing and answering phones and that sort of thing. But it almost became like I was causing them more work by if I ever had to ask help for certain things like reaching for stacks of paper or reaching the top of the photocopy machine, just like the small things that they seem to be annoyed with. And I decided to go to an outreach school to upgrade my biology 30 level and my math 30 level. I had graduated with enough credits, but those were ones that I had left out, and I just took the minimum requirement basically to get my diploma. So I did my upgrading, and then after that I applied to the Red Deer College for the education assistant program. So like a teacher's assistant in a classroom. And I started going to college part-time, so it was 2 to 3 days per week I was going in, and it's about 20 minutes from where I live. So I had good luck with applying for grants and stuff like that for school, so I was able to get money for the actual tuition as well as a grant that allowed me to pay for transportation. So I was given the grant money to pay for an accessible cab to pick me up and take me to the college and take me home, and then use that money towards that. And I was also able to get a grant for anything technology based, which is how I got my MacBook Air, which is really cool that that is an option, but it's something you can only do every 5 years, and I don't think you're going to be in school for that long, but the fact that I was able to get it at the beginning of going to school really helped. So going to college was not too bad for accessibility issues. There's obviously like elevators and ramps throughout, but obviously sometimes ramps are crazy steep or hard with for a quad. So there was always this one ramp I definitely would kind of wait and find someone and ask for help, which worked out usually. And so that part of it was good. And becoming fatigued sometimes would be an issue if I say had two classes back to back that were maybe 2 hours long each, and I was there for that long with no break. So I definitely would be very tired sometimes, but I'm very glad I didn't push myself to do full time, because I wouldn't have done as good in the classes if I did that, because I did really well, and I think going part-time gave me that extra time to do the work for those classes and not feel so tired all the time. And it took me 2.5 years to finish, even though it's listed as a 1-year program full-time. So that was the only hard part, was there was girls going through the program that I would become friends with, and then they would go and graduate the program, and I'd still be taking classes. So that happened twice, with people graduating the 1 year and the next year, and then I finally graduated with the girls I was in classes with the last year, which was nice. There was a lot of great girls in my classes every year, and graduating was just such a great day in general, like such a good feeling to know that even though it took that long, I still finished it. And then there was points when I didn't know if I was going to finish it or not, because I just could not see the end in sight. And so that day was like, okay, I finally am done. And then it's like, okay, now what do you do? So my final practicum for the program I did at Mother Teresa School in the town that I live, and it's only like a block from my house, which was amazing because they allowed me to come home for lunch, which worked out really well for me, and I got to work with a lot of the classrooms. Actually, they didn't just have me in one room, so some blocks was grade 7, which was okay, and then some was grade 3, 4, or 5. So lots of range, lots of different abilities for the kids and personalities to work with. But that's what makes your day entertaining and doesn't feel like such a long day working in the same classroom all day and getting to go around and work with different teachers. And it was just really great. And after I graduated, I heard back from them asking me to come in for a full week during final exams and help out with doing reading for certain kids who like the test to be read to them. So that was also a good feeling, knowing that they enjoyed having me there during my practicum, that they wanted me to come back and help, and added me to their EA sub list. So anytime one of their permanent EAs isn't able to come in, that they will call me to be the sub EA for the day, which is really cool. And another huge, there's a spasm. Okay. Another huge part of this is the whole social part of your life and the aspect of finding out who are true friends and who were just kind of there at the beginning and definitely just faded out. I had lots of friends that would visit me in the hospital, and they'd come in like groups because it was a 2-hour drive to come. And then when I went back for grade 12, people were nice to me, but they didn't treat me exactly the same as they did before the accident. I'd say they were just probably nervous and didn't know what they could say around me and didn't want to ask the wrong question, so they just kind of didn't talk to me at all. And it's the whole thing with anybody after you graduate that you see less of people, but it was almost like even more for me, because when people would want to hang out with me at first, it was like, Kate, well, I either have to arrange a ride with somebody or you have to only come to my house or whatever, and people just didn't want to do that, right? So I definitely think me pushing myself to go to college was the best thing for my social life, for sure. That was the only time that I would interact with people besides being at home with my family. So that was a big draw for me to go to college, was the social part of it and meeting people and just being able to talk about stuff in class and what we're working on, and it's not always based around what is happening in my injury. But yeah, if there's anything else that you want to know, you can definitely ask me in the comments and I can answer. And should probably wrap this video up because it's getting a bit out of hand, but I appreciate that you are interested in my story and that maybe I could help you out with something, and or you learn something that you maybe didn't know about someone with a spinal cord injury, and just gives you more of that awareness. So just definitely leave any questions because I'm pretty open about everything. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Bye.